Hey, this is Jared Cochran with Family Church. Welcome to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe so we can get you these messages every single week. Have a great day. Welcome to the family room. Another, it's a wet Wednesday, but we're glad to have you all here. While we wait for everybody to get in, let us know where you're watching from, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and hit share and get more people out there to see what we got going on. Sunday was quite a heat stroke of a message.
Barn burner. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. And I love that the energy of the girls with the hand waving and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, there was a lot of energy.
We'll probably mention it several times as we go through tonight, but like and comment, or make a comment, let us know where you're watching from, and all that kind of stuff, because it kicks an algorithm into a whole other. I never noticed that much until the other day I started commenting on something. And right when I started commenting on it, then it just kind of kicked up, and it seemed like more and more people were able to see that, and I don't know what it does.
Yeah, the more engagement, it's weird. And of course, being a church, the algorithm is always going to be against us. But yeah, the more, it's weird to say, because I'm not trying to like beg people to do stuff, but it's kind of like word of mouth. The more that people like it and share it, and especially comment, the more that it starts putting it out in front of people. So as great as everybody's obviously doing with getting more people in the house with word of mouth, it's just as important to share it for your online friends that maybe you don't see all the time, or somebody that you're not connected with, just so the gospel can reach as many people as possible.
Amen. Every Wednesday night we break this down. We break down the sermon from Sunday. Before we get into that, a couple of quick announcements so that you know what's coming on this Sunday, October the 1st. At 6 o'clock, well, of course, we got 10 a.m. service. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Baptism are at 6 o'clock at Butler Park, weather permitting and all of that, but it's at 6 o'clock at Butler Park. October the 6th is the last day for the couples class. That's coming up this week. October the 8th is Pastor Appreciation Sunday. That's the following week, October. Every October is Pastor Appreciation Month, and so this year we've got, we're going to push that a little bit and say, hey, how much we appreciate all of our people. October the 27th is a youth movie night that's going to be coming up here. And we don't want you to miss that, so we'll be announcing it as it comes in. And then November the 3rd is going to be a great fall festival for people to come hang out and play and do hay rides and eat popcorn.
I'm ready for the weather cool down. The days this week where it's been like kind of crisp in the morning, and actually open the door and the windows.
Hello, Stacia. Glad to have you along with us tonight. Thank you for being there. Sunday.
One more. The girl.
The young girl from Palatka.
Bailey Holbrook, I think is her name. I want to make sure I don't say it wrong. Very unfortunate accident. If you don't know, I believe she was hunting with her dad, and their tree stand or blind or whatever it is got struck by lightning. She's in the hospital, and while the doctors say it doesn't look too good, God always has the final word. So I know I've said some prayers for her. I'm sure you have, and we're asking everybody tonight to just take a moment, whether it's right now while we're waiting for things to get going, or afterwards, or before you go to bed, just get on your knees or get on your face and seek God and say a prayer for this young girl. She's only 17, and I believe her story's not done yet. So I'm believing God will show up and show out.
We always encourage people to pray like it was your own child. I mean, if it was one of my children or grandchildren, I'd be asking everybody I know to pray as hard as you can, just to reach out and touch God. And so just people in Palatka, those of you that are over there that know this young lady, we are praying for her. A lot of our good people are praying for her. So we wanted to mention her at the beginning of everything tonight. So keep her in mind, if you will, as we move forward.
Well, I don't know how you jump off from that, but...
Well, Sunday.
Awesome.
We just had fun.
I had fun. I had a lot of fun, and it blew up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or on the YouTube really quickly.
I have another little tidbit of information. What we talked about was, maybe you saw it, a warrior in a woke world. From Isaiah 58 and 1 Kings chapter 18, we talked about what it was like when Elijah, Mount Carmel, King Ahab, Jezebel, and all that, the story from Sunday school. I talked about it. We're going to break that down a little bit more as we go along, but here's a little tidbit that nobody knows about. I had a guy... Hey, Jerry, watching on YouTube. Glad to have you there. A friend of mine I went to school with, Joyce Luker. Hey, glad to have you there with us. Watching on Facebook, Ashley Horn. Ashley, we just mentioned we're going to be praying for her. So
yes.
keep us
posted. Wear green. There's some kind of thing. Right. I saw it right before we came up to wear green for her in honor of her tomorrow.
We will definitely do that. It matters.
It does.
The tidbit, the little behind the scenes. That's why I like the family room, because y'all get stuff that nobody else knows. You're not going to believe this. I had a militia contact me today.
What?
Yeah. I had a militia contact me today and ask if it was okay if we would if they could put that sermon on their page.
What'd you say?
I said, come on.
Do it.
Do it. Why would I say no?
Hey, I say any publicity is good publicity.
Right? I was stoked.
Especially for the word
everybody's
of God
got their
to get
feelings
out.
about stuff like that, but yeah, get it out there. Maybe somebody will hear it.
Well, so I didn't send it until later. When I uploaded it, it had over 1,000 views in like less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
And then I think I texted y'all the picture. It was like over 4,000 in like 2.5 hours or something. So it blew up, and I've been checking it. It kind of slowed down, which is fine. But right now it's over 6,000 views, which is just phenomenal in itself. But yeah. I'm hoping it just takes back off. And it gets as many people watching that, because it needs to get heard.
And you stress that all the time. It's not for us or for ego or anything like that, but it's to get the gospel out. It's to let somebody hear that might not have otherwise heard. The little letter that I sent to the pastoral care team, an email that I got from a friend of mine that I didn't even know she was watching, but she said that she sent us a thank you that she gets to watch and all of our podcasts and all of our stuff. She doesn't often get to attend church, but she gets to sit at her home on her couch and watch all that. So she was thankful. Hey Joyce, hey friends.
That's cool. We actually, Kelsey and I think I texted y'all. We watched the 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Not all of it, I'll say that, but we were watching, and it's actually cool. Mm-hmm. I don't spend a lot of time like going back and rewatching the broadcast, just because I've obviously lived it and everything. But I do from time to time go back and watch the music, and then obviously I generally do Spotify more than YouTube for the archives. But it was cool to experience it as if you're kind of outside of the volunteer or the staff or what have you, that you can just experience it as a person at any time, really. And I thought that is so cool.
That's why at any
time we can just access
everything that we do is free.
Word.
There will never be a charge for it. We're always going to do it for free. Last night Kathy said it was time for dinner, so I was walking down the stairs and I heard my voice, and I'm like, you know how you have that moment of what?
Yeah, I hear it all the time now with Kelsey doing the Facebook and the Reels and
like
the YouTube.
And subscribe.
I'll be sitting there washing dishes, and I just hear talking, and I'm like, oh.
It's Zaddy time. Let's go to work. So we talked about a warrior in a woke world. Those of you that were here, and if you saw it, drop a line or something, or let us know what about it spoke to you. What do you think was the most helpful, and how could we follow up on that? If you have any suggestions, because Sunday is coming, and this Sunday is going to be another great Sunday.
Yeah. Like I said, what I say last week, I think I said I was going to do the 8th. I changed my mind. I want to do this week. I've had something stirring in me ever since Sunday ended, and been getting woken up a lot this week. It's much different than the one from last time. I'll give a disclaimer with that. Mm-hmm. But I do believe I feel like it's more of like a rallying cry for America and Christians in America to just, there's some things we need to really confront and realize and notice that are out in the open, but if you're not looking, you don't really realize it, and it's disturbing. I watched that documentary I sent you, and then I was watching various other things before I did school, and eventually I got to the point I was like, I need to just like go do something else, because it was just
well, you were sending me stuff about where was something over a courtroom somewhere?
I'll be bringing that up Sunday, and I'm gonna have a picture of it and everything.
Incredible. That's in your face. And what we believe here at our church is that those things like that need to be brought out into the light.
It has to. Like we were talking about this morning when we were here, about it's just too many people are so comfortable, and we've slipped into just kind of believing that everybody's supposed to be nice. And Jesus, obviously, while he loves everybody and everything like that, he does not tolerate sin, nor should we I know a lot of people don't want to say that. That's not seeker friendly.
Out loud.
But he is the lion and he is the lamb. There is two sides to that. And if you're a Christian, you get the lamb. And unfortunately, if you're a non-believer, you're going to feel the wrath of the lion for all of eternity unless you turn around and repent.
That a little preview of Sunday, or is that?
It might be. That was just kind of flowing out there. But yeah.
Y'all don't miss Sunday. Be in the house or online. It's going to be good. So the old story, the old Sunday school story. The nation, King Ahab was, as I said, 1 Kings 18, the distinction was that he was the king that angered the Lord more than any before or since. So he was a bad man himself. Jezebel, he married her. She was from the Canaanite region. And he were leading the nation away from God back into idol worship and away from God. And at some point, Elijah, the prophet, showed up. The Tishbite. He was from Tishbe. We don't even know where that is.
Nope. I've heard, yeah, it's so small that we don't really know where it is. And I love it that he comes in out of nowhere looking like a homeless guy. And then
they instantly knew who he was. And they said, "Hey, Elijah wants to see you." And he said he was wearing a leather belt and a girdle. And the guy said, "Oh, that's Elijah." He knew.
A garment of hair.
He knew who it was.
And what I love too is you have in the New Testament, you have John the Baptizer, who was in the spirit of Elijah. And then when they met Jesus, they thought he was Elijah come back. There's a lot of people don't know this, but apparently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've heard this week and been studying a little bit, before the second of coming of Jesus, Elijah comes another time. He came the first time before Jesus, and I thought it was interesting that he did not die. He got to get sucked up into heaven, if you will, for lack of a better term off the top of my head, and he gets to come back again and doing the same stuff and creating holy trouble before Jesus comes back.
This is extra credit. This is the family room. Extra credit. Somebody in the comments tell us who were the only two people that were born and never died. The only two that were born. He just told you one of them was Elijah. If you know the other one, drop it in the comments, and we'll be ready. We'll be waiting.
Pin it. I will pin it to the top so everybody can.
Come on, come on, Jerry. Here's your chance.
So jumping into your message, the first thing that I had written down, you had brought up Isaiah 58:12, the repair of the breach. You had mentioned how in society the gap with everything, the gap has never been wider. And he is obviously the repair of the breach.
The gap between two ideologies is, in my opinion, I'm sure that maybe I'm historically wrong. There's probably other times when it's been that way, but I think, in my perception as an older man, it's never been wider. There's between the two ideologies of good and evil. They are as far apart as they've ever been. And you said I love that quote. There is no middle ground. There is no more middle ground.
Nope.
I keep coming back to that because it really stirred something up in me. You've got to be either on one side, who is on the Lord's side, one side or the other, and you have to choose. And that was a thought that I had right at the very beginning. The repair of the breach. If there's a breach, that means that there's an opening where something that was not intended to be there has come in. And we're seeing more and more of that. And if there was a repairer, then there is a need for a repair, which means that something is broken. And I think, and I said it a couple of times, something is wrong in our world, and we all know it. Even people on the street who are not
snatched by the chariot. That was a lot better way to word that than sucked up in. Sounds like a vacuum cleaner. God was up there with a Dyson and just there it is, Enoch. It was so hard not to say that.
Right, you win. It was Enoch.
I'm pinning it.
Enoch and Elijah. Oh, you get pinned to the top, Tanya. Give yourself a high five.
A pat on the back.
Since you love the high fives. But the repairer, if there's a repair, then there's something that was broken. And I love that little catchphrase, something is wrong and we all know it. But why is it that people are so hesitant in the face of that then to confront it?
Fear. The spirit of fear. I think there's, especially now with COVID, we've had, and to me it's all a joke. I'm sorry if anybody has lost anyone with the sickness or anything like that. To me, I'm not going to get into all that. But for the last several years, because of that, with the government shutdowns and just another point of how we've talked about the Bible is timeless. It is not just what has happened, it's what is always happening. We are in the days of Elijah again, I think. And just in the same days, Jezebel and Ahab were shutting down churches. This is the same exact thing that happened with COVID. And we have the spirit of Ahab, which doesn't necessarily have to be a male. It can also be a female, but obviously the leaders of this country are completely passive leaders.
They're not woke, they're weak.
Yeah. No, they're woke and weak. But unfortunately, I have a really good sentence that I want to say for Sunday that I'm trying so hard not to say it right now. But I think that, okay, so for the South, people are always like, we don't really care what you do, just leave us out of it. Let me live my life and you guys live yours. And while that sounded cool because we just wanted to be left alone, what has happened is the enemy has taken that stance of being comfortable and, just trying to not necessarily step on people's toes. And he's just kind of kept taking ground and taking ground and taking ground. And now since I think it was like the 60s or something from what I was looking at this week, there's been just a big giant push where everything is just kind of diving straight off, and we're just neck deep in depravity and just sin and rebellion. And so for, with COVID and everything, they shut the churches down, and you had this and that going on. There was just a spirit of fear that got to rule the world for several years. And I know for a lot of people, not taking the jab and this and that and not giving in to lockdowns and refusing to wear a mask, that's a really good civil disobedience. Yeah. It's the same thing with Elijah. You can look at these kind of things in the Bible, and I'm going to make a point on that Sunday, so I won't expound too much on it with the government. But the government is not above God, and essentially we let a spirit of fear run not just the country but the world for the last several years, and that allowed the spirits of Ahab and Jezebel to really just start wreaking havoc on everything. And we're in the days of Elijah, but it's probably, we don't know exactly how it looked back then, so we're living it out real time. It's probably a little worse with how technology is and psychological warfare and things like that, but there's always a remnant, which is also going to be our point Sunday. But it can turn back, but in order for it to turn back, that requires work. That requires believers getting down on their knees and praying and actively going against the gates of hell. I know some people, I was researching it, and they're like, oh, we're not supposed to storm the gates of hell because if you go into hell, you can't get back out, and which that sounds cool, and I get what you're saying. But it's that kind of mentality that has let the demons just completely run rampant and take so much from us, especially from this country in itself, since it was founded on Christian and godly morals. But it's just a mess, and it's going to take a lot of misfits to spread God's message and bring us back to the place where God is at the center of everything, of our lives and the country.
I think it starts at two. I truly do. I think the church has such a crucial, critical role. We've always been salt and light. There are some good people stepping up strongly now, more and more. Come on, tell me more, Jerry. Give us a link. Tell us where to find those things, so perhaps somebody who's scrolling later can find it. But I said Sunday, I think it starts with the pastors. I think pastors have a voice, the shepherds, because you don't really think about it, but your voice carries out to that many people that are there, and then those that watch. You said we had like 80,000 views in the last month of whatever it is.
I think when you stepped up Sunday, it was 85,000, and the analytics just last week alone from, I guess it would be, what was yesterday's Tuesday? I think from Tuesday to Tuesday. I don't know the schedule that YouTube sends, but it sends like a recap of the analytics. There was 24,000 people that tuned into us, whether that's live stream or after the fact. It was something like 606 shares, 700 something likes. I don't remember how many comments, but it's getting out there, and every week it's just kind of building up. And
I think we have a crucial responsibility to speak the truth, and I truly believe that one of the highest expressions of love is to speak the truth. As Paul said, speak the truth in love, but it's one of the highest expressions of love that you can give to somebody is to just tell them the truth. And we talk about it all the time. I think people sitting in family church are just ready for that. I've told you numerous times, this is a church, y'all tell me, y'all know, this is a church that the stronger you preach it, the stronger they want it. Just bring it, and every time.
That's how it needs to be.
Oh, yeah?
That's how it needs to be.
Yeah, and I feel it, because y'all make a demand on the speaker, and it starts drawing out. You mentioned the phrase civil disobedience. Want to expound on that a little bit?
No, not yet.
Oh, Sunday.
Yeah, no, it's in Sunday. I mean, you look at Elijah or Daniel. A good example would be Daniel. He was doing right, and I'll just interject a good point here. A lot of times Daniel will get taught wrong that if you just follow God, you're not going to have any suffering. Daniel did just fine in Israel, and then he had to walk 700 miles in captivity to Babylon, and we won't go into all that, but obviously a lot of people know the story of that. But that was a good Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. I was so close. But they practiced civil disobedience in that, when they got there, they could have eaten at the king's table. I think we were talking about this morning. They could have eaten at the king's table. They refused to. But not only did they just refuse, they gave an alternative. And that's where we get the Daniel fast. They only wanted to eat vegetables and things like that. And then also the other time where Nebuchadnezzar, built the false idol and wanted everybody to bow down, they just refused. And as we know, they got led to the furnace, and we know how that turned out. But what my favorite line is that, they say that God will deliver them, but if not.
Those three words.
They're still gonna, I think there's for a true believer, if you're living the right way, I'll just interject that, and you're following Jesus, death truly is not terrifying. I mean, what is the worst that happens? You die, and then you're in heaven. It's almost you're kind of winning the game at that point, especially if you get persecuted for your beliefs.
Well, you can't threaten the dead, man.
Stephen was stoned. I think, was he the first person that got stoned?
No, but he was the first. Well, he was the deacon martyr. Acts chapter 9, when Paul was still Saul, Stephen spoke up.
Yeah, and they stoned him.
They were stoning him.
But he looked up while he was getting stoned, and Jesus was on his feet, essentially, cheering for him.
Standing.
What a way to enter heaven.
Right. Flashbang. Thank you for pointing out.
Flashbang.
That's a cool name, by the way.
Flash J Bang, pointing out the pandemic.
Kelsey Cochran brought out something about the government. Y'all are just trying to get radical, get us in trouble. I used the word woke in the title for a reason, because it's such a prominent word in our culture, and it's gotten so toxic, everybody's afraid of it. I felt it Sunday when I gave the title.
Yeah, it was like a hushed,
ooh, we don't talk about that. Yes, we do, because one side wears it as a badge of honor. I'm woke. And the other side use it as a term of derision to say, you're really asleep. You think you're awake, but you're really asleep. It's the ultimate oxymoron.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's
woke
a joke.
Is not.
We can't repeat it because this is a Christian live event. But I think Donald Trump had the best quote about being woke.
Back to the sun.
We'll just leave that there.
Everything woke goes south.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But it's a joke. It's just a big joke, and there's so many. It's the vocal minority. There's less of them than there are of us, but they just have a louder voice, and that goes back to my point about how we just have been wanting to be left alone. Unfortunately, now with the times we're in, you can't just be left alone anymore. It's time to pick a side. And I've talked to my barber about this. And he's even said it.
I don't talk to my barber because I don't have one.
It's yourself.
I talk about the next time I get a chance to preach, whenever that is. I want to talk. You mentioned a little bit ago about how that we feel like we've been indoctrinated to believe that the highest goal of every Christian is to be nice. Y'all comment, to be nice. We just have to be nice to everybody. Nah, I don't see it like that.
No.
We have the responsibility to love.
Yes,
That's
we
what
love.
the word
but
says.
love is not. I'm making a point about that as well on Sunday. But just maybe just to get ahead of the curve, if you have kids, or whether you don't have kids, or you're just married, or whatever, we pretty much everybody has someone that they love.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna watch them just go and drive off of a cliff. You're gonna warn them. If they're wrapped up in drugs and addiction, loving that person is not enabling them and going out and buying more heroin. It's literally standing in the gap for that person and praying about them and telling them, and maybe having to smack them upside the head just to get something across to them. I mean, I've heard so many people say that, actually, I was talking to Andy, our cousin, this week, and he was asking how Brandon was, and he even said, he's like, man, it sounds weird to say it, but if it wasn't for prison, I would be dead.
Andy said that?
Yeah.
No doubt.
And it's just
saved his life.
That is love. True love is saying things and confronting it, not condemning it. That's why Jesus said, and that's another sermon I'm kind of working on, but it's about convicting people of their sin, not condemning them for their sin.
Conviction's the right way. We were talking before we started about the whole woke culture and how confusing everything is, and I made the point Sunday that if somebody says something, no matter how ridiculous or extreme it is, everybody's just supposed to go, oh, okay, and go along with that. If I identify as a dog, well, then you've got to accept me.
Yeah, you brought that up Sunday too. And I said you brought that up Sunday with, what was it, in Germany? I was laughing so hard over there at that. That is so ridiculous to me.
True story.
And then I was just talking to him about it as I was pulling in the parking lot and parking. It came up on my Facebook, the video of it. It was 1,000 or 2,000 people just sitting outside of whatever building it was. I don't know if it was the same one or not. And they were literally howling like dogs, wearing masks and everything. And the comments was just
their demand
hilarious.
is that they want to be recognized as canine beings, not human beings. And so they're sitting now, they're literally at a town meeting, barking, howling, growling. I want to be recognized as a canine being. That's where our culture is. And if you speak up against that, then people immediately call you a bigot.
Yeah.
And now it's in danger of becoming a hate crime. It is not a hate crime. It's absolutely love to tell somebody who is borderline on a breakdown, you've had a break from reality. You've had a mental break from reality, and you need to get back to reality. The reality of life is that you are a person. You were a man or you were a woman. You were born that way. That was the structure of it all. God put that in your DNA. So that's what you are. This woke culture tells us, well, I can be anything I want to. No, you cannot. You are what God created you to be.
Exactly.
You may have had a break from reality, but that doesn't mean that that's true. Some controversy. I mentioned this Sunday. I said, who would have ever thought that we would be at the place where we are legitimately debating the morality of abortion? And I know in church, people don't like to use the A word.
I don't know if I'll bring it up Sunday, but I had to study I think it was whatever, but Molech and Chemosh and basically things like that, the false demonic gods. And if you don't know, when the Bible says gods or God with a little undercase G, false gods, it's all demons. It's demonic spirits and things like that. But I had to study and listen to the things on the child sacrifice and how it was performed.
It's horrible.
It's really, really bad and really heavy stuff. But I don't know.
It's horrible.
I might bring it up Sunday or not. It's something that a lot of people don't want to hear. Which the same thing with a lot of the stuff you said Sunday. A lot of people don't want to hear it because we just want to ignore it like it's not there. But that's how we've gotten into the mess we're in now. And the sad thing is, whether you want to say a conspiracy or not, that stuff is still going on today. There's still child sacrifice with
goodness,
human trafficking, everything. They're still killing kids and offering them up to Moloch. I mean, you can.
And they're trying to be quiet about it, but when they just produced this movie, this latest movie that just came out with Jim Caviezel in it, and for the moment I can't remember the name of it.
Nope. I forgot.
You're right, but y'all know what I'm talking about. That movie skyrocketed to the lead because people know, and they're watching and they're learning, and some people are getting a better education. It's happening. Who would have ever thought that we would be at the place where we would be legitimately debating which bathroom to use, or who a man or a woman is, or with a straight face allowing men to compete with women in women's sports and going, oh yay, that's so good. Come on. And it's crazy. So I'm just trying to shine some light on it, and I think the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be very much the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt weird because the quit camping one I felt good on, and then I have honestly just such a heavy feeling. That's why I wanted to take Sunday. It's just burning in me, and it was like, man, I gotta. If I wasn't gonna do it Sunday, I was gonna make. I'll probably still expound on it at some point in a different YouTube video, just to get it all out there. There's a lot of stuff. Tanya said perpetuating mental sickness. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly.
Nobody wants to call it that, and which is funny because the Big Pharma. I mean, they want to just drug. It was Andy. I was talking to Andy about that, and it's like nowadays it seems like you can just tell your doctor I'm feeling this way, and they'll write you a script for something. Mm-hmm. And he even said. And he said, with all the stuff, and I don't even know, but all the stuff that he was wrapped up in with drug addiction and things like that, and he said there's a few things he hasn't tried, but he said the absolute worst one was the stuff you get from the doctor.
Wow.
He said that was worse than anything else, that he had any addiction to anything like that, that he said it would literally it would have him laying up in bed just bawling his eyes out. And
wow.
It was, I mean, it's just.
He's doing okay now?
Yeah, he seems fine.
Awesome. Good.
They just did some work at the house.
Mm-hmm. Flash bang, you share in your face, can't handle the truth, love. Most pastors are government controlled.
That's a good point. I'm going to expound on that.
I don't know who you are, but I need
Sound of Freedom. That's what it is. I'm so glad
Sound
you knew
of Freedom.
I knew
there
it was something.
Thank you.
Most pastors are government controlled sissies. I'll have a little bit, maybe not about pastors, but anybody can. Just call me. Anybody can. You look at the 850 false prophets. Mm-hmm. There's always the Ahab and the Jezebel spirit. They can always find people to pay to get them to say whatever they want. It's the same thing with how COVID was. They were finding all of these doctors and whatever that would endorse these things and procedures, and then now after the fact, after a whole bunch of people unfortunately started dying, it comes out that it was all a big lie and things like that. There's always going to be people that will accept money to say whatever the stuff is.
We just can't be afraid. And I think that's one of the biggest things you mentioned earlier, fear. We just cannot allow ourselves to be bullied into silence or fear or any of that. I truly believe you have come into the kingdom for such a time as this. This spirit is real, and it's stirring right now. We've been praying for revival for almost 2 years, praying that God would wake us up and wake the church up, and we hope to be a voice in all of that, because I think that truly, when the people of God, the army of God, speaks up, truth has a way of piercing into the darkness. We're doing that right now, so keep us posted.
One of the things you had talked about, and we'll make this a short night. You had said if you would disagree with the culture, you would be disowned, and I mean you see that all with cancel culture. I've got something I want to speak on that another day, but I'd kind of written down my own notes on that. And if you disagree, I wrote down. Hopefully, I'll remember exactly what I was thinking. If you disagree, you'll be disowned. But obviously, as you know, as a believer, we are owned by God. So we should not be worried. We should not worry about being disowned by the culture, but we should be terrified of dishonoring our Creator.
Right. If you honor God, He will honor you. If you walk with God, He will vindicate you. He will, in every situation, do that. So it's a fact. So,
and you said too, the country has a faith problem. And one big thing, before we wrap it up really quick, you had talked about. Don't be on the wrong side of history.
Right.
And what's funny is what immediately popped up in my head is history is always written down by the victor. So, you say they say don't be on the wrong side of history. Obviously, we're more concerned on don't be on the wrong side of eternity. But when evil has triumphed anywhere, it's a lot easier for it to write down whatever it wants about whoever it wants and say whatever it wants,
History
because
is
the
written by
other
the
party
victors.
is not there to write it down.
So that little
just-
quote that I
popped
gave,
into me.
whoever controls the present can rewrite the past to create a new future.
Exactly.
And it's classic, and it happens all the time. So we have to understand. I had a little an eighth grade student here walk up to me afterwards and did this at me and said, "Remember this?" She said, "Those who don't remember history are condemned to repeat it." And I was like, "Come on."
Exactly.
Come on,
I
girl.
think that's with
Thank
being
you.
in the days of Elijah. I think that's why it's really important to just keep
Amen.
hitting on these messages. Obviously, with how you're feeling about it, and then me having this feeling about it, and then I know your other message that you're working on is kind of in the same vein. Clearly, something needs to get said about this kind of stuff.
We're going to go after this for the next 2 or 3 weeks, so stay tuned, pray for us, keep posting, let us know what you're thinking. This Sunday, Jared's up to bat. He's going to bring something, and then the following week, I'm going to bring something else on the word of comfort. Before we wrap it up tonight, we're going to make tonight a little short night, so y'all can get on with your whatever it is else that you're doing. I want to brag a minute. Can I brag a minute about your college grades?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I can, because I'm a father. I can do that. You are enrolled in Southeastern Assembly in Lakeland, working on your master's degrees, and what? Theology?
Master of Divinity.
Master of Divinity. So, and that's
That'll
not
be
just
a
candy.
5 to 6 year course,
And oof,
or total. I don't know.
it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Your first score on whatever it was
One of the classes is the story of Scripture.
Story of Scripture. 100%. The kid's smart.
A 100A. I know pride comes before the fall, but I saw that and I got the email and I was like, I kind of feel
Celebrate every victory.
because it was kind of difficult. And there's like the essays, they didn't give much to write about. It's like, hey, here's the themes for Jesus. Talk about how that applies to your life and the stuff you've dealt with. And I'm like, okay.
And don't use Chat GPT.
Yeah, actually, I did put that in one of my my other courses, talking about ethics and academics. But yeah, we'll make tonight short. Glad to have everybody here. I hope to see you Sunday. Bring a friend. Tell them to wear shorts. It's going to be a little hot, but
Come early.
Come
bring a
early
friend.
and
Yeah, we
come-
don't mention that
come
much.
ready.
Bring a friend. Invite somebody. Send a text. Hey, man, some good things are going on at my church. I'd like to see it. And if you happen to be driving by out on 207,
yeah, we got the new logo out on the building.
take a look
and it
at the
looks
building
good.
right there.
It's cool. If you haven't seen it, the picture of it is on our Facebook. It's a lot cooler to see it in person. But
Yes, it is.
we love you guys. We hope you have a great night. Come Sunday, and don't forget, if you're looking for baptisms, the
Sunday night, 6 o'clock.
Sunday night,
Frank
6
Park,
o'clock.
Butler Park.
Butler Park.
Mhm.
Butler Park. Y'all have a good one.
Good night. God bless.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's message. If you did, make sure that you share and subscribe so that we can get you these sermons as soon as they are available. I'd like to take a moment and thank everyone that's a part of the family. Whether you serve with us or give financially, it's because of you that we are able to reach the world with the gospel of Jesus. If you have any questions or would like to get more involved, click the link in the description. Thank you. Have a blessed week.